So the New York Knicks are one of the more slept on teams in the NBA. I mean, last season wasn't the greatest, but they definitely have one of the more talented younger teams in the NBA. I mean, last season, yeah, they were 37 and 45, very, very underwhelming. I mean, considering the season before that, they were the 4th seed in the NBA with a record of 41 and 31. So I think next season the Knicks have a lot going for them, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. So what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the New York Knicks and why I believe that they're going to surprise a lot of people and why I think the NBA is sleeping on them. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe for more NBA and NFL content, and let's get straight to it. So the Eastern Conference has gotten very, very stacked. I mean, we've seen teams like the Atlanta Hawks trade for DeJounte Murray, the Cleveland Cavaliers just 2 days ago trade for Donovan Mitchell. So yeah, the East has gotten honestly extremely good, and they are pretty much the same as the West, I would say. I mean, we've got teams like the Heat, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Nets, the Bulls, who can all compete, and now also the Cavs and the Hawks. So it's going to be tough for the Knicks to get up there. But I honestly believe that rjbarrett is in for a breakout season. I mean, last season he averaged 20 points per game, 44% from the field, 5.8 rebounds, 3.0 assists. So he was good overall last season, definitely an improvement from the year before. I mean, he's averaged 17, 14 throughout his 3-year NBA career. So obviously 20 is definitely a big step up. And honestly, I believe next year is going to be his best year. He's got a way more talented point guard, as we saw Jalen Brunson in the playoffs. He kind of just took over there. I mean, obviously he has Luka on the team, but I believe that he is one of the best young point guards in the NBA. And I think that the Knicks got a gem there. I mean, after signing him in free agency, I think that's one of the most underrated signings in all of free agency this year, and I think he can break out also. So now you've got RJ and Brunson, and I think that could be one of the better young duos one day. In the playoffs alone last year, the Dallas Mavericks had to face the Jazz, who were a good team last year. They had to face the number 1 seeded Phoenix Suns, and they had to face the NBA champions Golden State Warriors. So honestly, I'm really surprised that Jalen Brunson had as much of a great playoff run that he did, scoring over 20 points per game. He had some 30-point games also in there. So honestly, he looks very, very talented, and the Knicks are lucky to have signed him. And the Knicks, there were a bunch of rumors that they would be open to giving away RJ Barrett and more for Donovan Mitchell. And yeah, Donovan Mitchell's a great player. He's very talented. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA. But honestly, I think it's a good thing that the Knicks are giving RJ a chance. He was a 3rd overall pick, so obviously he's supposed to be good. He's only been in the NBA for 3 years. He can still be a good player. I mean, we've seen other players in the NBA start to blossom in their 3rd or 4th season. So honestly, I think it's a great thing that the Knicks did by keeping him. I think he's in for a breakout year. He's going to surprise a bunch of people, and honestly, he's my pick for the most improved player award this season. Now, I am not the biggest fan of Julius Randle. I know last season was pretty bad for him. The year before that was the best year of his entire career, and then the Knicks also did end up giving him a huge extension, so now they're pretty much stuck with him. I know we're hoping for him to go back to where he was in 2021, but honestly, I highly doubt that. It's going to be tough. I mean, considering what we saw last season was pretty horrific. I know toward the end of the season, he did start to pick it up again, but it was pretty unexcusable. I mean, especially in the playoffs, though, the year before, that's kind of when he started to fall apart. Cam Reddish was traded to the New York Knicks from the Atlanta Hawks, I believe, at the time of the trade deadline in January this year, and there have now been some rumors that he wants out of New York and he would like to play for the Lakers. Honestly, that's kind of a big loss. I mean, he's a good player that the Knicks have. He can play defense, he can shoot, he can score. He can pretty much do anything there. He's not that efficient. He needs to work on that, but he could still be a good young player, and now that he's not on the team, or at least doesn't want to be on the team, that's not a very good look, not a very good sign. Hopefully he can stay there, but I'm not too sure about that right now. Mitchell Robinson is obviously the starting center of the Knicks. He's not amazing. He's not terrible. He's 7 feet tall, only 24 years old. He can certainly get the job done. He's a great defender. He can get blocks. I think the Knicks got a great one there. He's not going to be their long-term guy, I don't believe, but he can definitely be there for the time being. They've also got Obi Toppin, who they drafted with the 8th pick in the 2020 NBA draft. He hasn't been the greatest. I know when you're drafted that high, number 8, you're supposed to be like super good going into the NBA, but he did have a 42-point game, I believe, so you can't count him out just yet. He could still be a good player one day. And I honestly believe in him. I think he can be that guy for the Knicks one day at the power forward position. I mean, that's a great guy to have there because you don't have a very solid power forward at the moment, if you do consider Julius Randle to not be there for the long run. Quentin Grimes is a great backup point guard to have for the time being. He can shoot. I mean, he's a great scorer. I think the Knicks got a gem there. He can be a great player one day. He was in Donovan Mitchell trade talks, so I think it's a good thing. I mean, the Knicks would have had to trade a lot of their young guys there, and I think Emmanuel Quickly, Miles McBride, and Quentin Grimes are really good for the Knicks. And honestly, I think this young core of the New York Knicks could make a playoff run this year. I know it's going to be tough, as I said earlier in the video, that there are a lot of very, very talented teams in the Eastern Conference this year. But I think that the Knicks are one of those teams. I think they're among them. And I think that the Knicks are going to surprise a lot of people. And I think that you should stop sleeping on them. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe for more Knicks, NBA, and NFL content. And I'm out of here. Peace.